prelude to discussing ancient Egypt, I want to tell you about my cow nightmare. So this is not a world history discussion. This is a little extra and totally unrelated. So first of all, my friend Ben sent me this picture of somebody being scared by a cow at the window. And then I found this kind of dark image of, what was it called? The scary cow and the girl. Because I was looking for this image. But anyway, how is this going to be even semi-related to ancient Egypt? Well, look at this mummy god right here. I think there was a kid's book called Tut's Mummy when I was a kid, and it might have had a picture of this individual, which might have inspired the cow nightmare. So basically, a little comic relief. When I was a little kid, I had this terrible recurring nightmare that I was looking at either my window or my doorway, and a cow, just like in that picture, would put its head in the window. Although I think my cow looked more like that cow, looked evil. But anyway, cow would put its head in the window, and I would get all creeped out, and I would look at the cow, and I would proceed to whisper to it, "What's that noise? Could it be a cow?" That would cause the cow to disappear. Head would disappear from the window or the doorway, and after a few awkward seconds, I'd feel that cow rubbing his nose all over my back, and it tickled like crazy. And it tickled so much that it scared the daylights out of me and caused me to wake up. Sometimes it was a horse, sometimes it was a cow, but it was always a big farm animal putting its head in the window. And in fact, the first ever form that dream ever took, I was probably about 2 years old, and I believe it was a horse putting its head in the window, and it looked ominous, just like that picture. And every time I went, the horse would put its head in the window. The horse would put its head in the window. And the head was really scary, just like that one in the picture. So I decided to turn my back so I wouldn't have to see the ugly horse's head. And I go, I feel the horse rubbing his nose on my back and tickling me like crazy. So I crawl into a hole in the wall and I wake up. That was the first form it took. Second form, I was in some long, dark hallway, and there were a cow putting its head in the window, kind of like that picture. And anyway, but it was always the same dream. So I wrote this song in about third grade. Sometimes I write songs. First song I ever wrote was called the Cow Nightmare Song. And I had been having this dream for about 8 or 10 years. I think I first had it, like I say, when I was about 2 years old. And I probably stopped having it when I was about 10 or 12 years old. Thankfully, I'm 38 now, and I haven't had the cow dream in probably 26 to 28 years. Thank goodness. But it was my recurring childhood nightmare. So I wrote a song in about third grade about one specific cow nightmare where I was sitting in the family room and the cow put its head in the window, and I knew it was the nightmare, so I tried to wake up, but I couldn't wake up. So the dream played out with me whispering to the cow, "What's that noise? Could it be a cow?" And then the cow disappearing and tickling my back. Then I did wake up after the dream had run its course. And I called the when the cow rubs his nose all over your back. I called that horrible, horrible, creepy tickle feeling, fudja, fudja, fudja. But my parents couldn't pronounce that, so it became fudja, fudja, fudja. So when I say fudja, fudja, fudja in the song, I'm describing the horrible tickle on my back when the cow would rub his nose on my back. So here is the Cow Nightmare Song. Ooh. Moo, moo, bam, cowhead. A cow in the family room, trying to wake up, not waking up. Oh no! What's that noise? Could it be a cow? Fudja, 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 it is nightgown. A cow, fudja, fudja, fudja me. And then, I woke up. The Cow Nightmare Song. I forgot the part about step it up a bit. It's a rodeo with wild bulls. Yeah! And then you sing it a lot faster, same song. But anyway, So what inspired that dream? Well, I always assumed it was because I used to go to my Uncle Jerry's farm up in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, which was stocked with a bunch of cattle at the time. And some of those cattle could be mean and aggressive. And maybe that's what inspired that cow nightmare, seeing cows and horses at the farm. But one of my neighbors, former neighbors, used to think that it was actually not a cow at all, but an alien. I remember she said, it wasn't a cow, and you knew it wasn't a cow, and that's why it creeped you out. Ancient aliens, anybody? Well, I don't know. I think it was a cow, but whatever it was scary. It was creepy. I mean, I was a little kid, and there's this giant cow or horse in the window, and then I'd have to whisper to it, what's that noise? Could it be a cow? And then it would disappear and tickle my back, tickle me like crazy, and then I'd wake up. But there's another potential catalyst for the dream. Tut's mummy. Have you ever seen this image of the Egyptian mummy goddess? Or mummy god? I'm not sure. I'm basically probably saw that image in the book of Tut's mummy, and that kind of looks like a cow head in the window. And that's kind of creepy, especially since it's associated with death and all that. So I told you I was going to tie this in with world history somehow or another. And so basically, we're going to talk a little bit about our catchy opener, which was just the chapter 3 catchy opener for early African societies, which was the making of an Egyptian mummy and how they preserved the dead in Egypt so they could go on and live happily ever after in the next life. We're going to get into all that much later. This was just supposed to be a fun video about the cow nightmare. So you know that song I sung? Some people compare it to Queen in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I had a hiking friend who called it Bovenian Rhapsody, the cow nightmare song. Anyway, that's basically it. And then I promise the next video will be the first official video on ancient Egypt. Looking forward to it all. One more silly thing. I had another girlfriend a few years back. I took her to my farm up in Travelers Rest, Marietta area, and I told her that there were cows out there and it inspired that nightmare. And she goes, George, you grew up on the second floor of a downtown building in Greenville. Why were you worried about a cow in your window? I guess kids aren't very logical, but that is the cow nightmare story, just for fun. Woohoo!